Over the last few years, I've covered evil musicians, YouTubers, wrestlers, and even police officers. But one thing that quite a lot of people have wanted me to talk about is evil actors. Those Hollywood stars and wannabe stars who turned out to be not particularly good people. There's a lot, but in this video I'm going to be talking about 9 of them. Here are 9 of the most evil actors. Bill Cosby. For decades, he was one of the most beloved figures in entertainment, with a career that spanned stand-up comedy, television, books, and films. Cosby's influence was far-reaching, his legacy seemingly untouchable, but while he cultivated an image as a champion of family values and personal responsibility, a dark secret simmered beneath the surface, ultimately leading to a scandal that would change the way we view celebrity, power, and accountability. Born in Philadelphia in 1937, Cosby grew up in a working-class family. From a young age, he was drawn to comedy, using his humor to connect with others and as an escape from the challenges he faced. Cosby joined the Navy in his teenage years, and later, he attended Temple University, but his true calling lay in comedy. And by the early 1960s, Cosby was making waves as a stand-up comedian. His routines were notably clean, focusing on universal themes that resonates with people of all ages and backgrounds. He didn't rely on vulgarity or divisive topics. Instead, he drew humor from relatable family experiences. This approach won him a diverse following, with fans admiring his ability to entertain without resorting to controversial material. In 1965, Cosby broke racial barriers in television by starring in NBC's I Spy. The role was revolutionary. Cosby was the first black actor to co-star in a primetime drama series, an era-defining moment that opened doors for future generations of black actors. As Alexander Scott, a secret agent alongside Robert Culp's Kelly Robinson, Cosby won 3 consecutive Emmy Awards, solidifying his position as a Hollywood trailblazer. Cosby's success continued, and in the early 1970s, he created and starred in the animated series Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids, which aimed to teach children valuable life lessons. The show featured a group of black characters based on Cosby's own childhood friends, and tackled issues like bullying, honesty, and personal responsibility.
Like I said, Rudy, Dennis is retarded, but he's not retarded here. That's not too cool.
Maybe you'll like this better. Blacks go home.
But it was The Cosby Show that would transform Bill Cosby into a global icon. Debuting in 1984, The Cosby Show portrayed the Huxtables, an affluent black family with 2 professional parents and 5 children. Cosby's character, Dr. Cliff Huxtable, was a kind, wise father whose humor and values became emblematic of American ideals. The show quickly became one of the highest-rated programs of the decade, attracting millions of viewers and reshaping perceptions of black families in American media. The Cosby Show wasn't just a sitcom, it was a cultural phenomenon. It presented family unity and moral values, giving audiences a relatable yet aspirational view of family life. Cosby's role as a father figure transcended the screen, influencing generations of families and earning him the nickname America's Dad. While Cosby was building his legacy, allegations of sexual misconduct quietly circulated within certain circles. As early as the 1960s, some women claimed that Cosby had behaved inappropriately, yet his wholesome image and influence within the entertainment industry largely shielded him from scrutiny. The first public accusation didn't emerge until 2005, when Andrea Constant, a Temple University employee, accused Cosby of drugging and sexually assaulting her in his Pennsylvania home. Constant's case revealed a disturbing pattern. She reported that Cosby had offered her pills, which he claimed were herbal remedies, to help her relax. Soon after taking the pills, Constance said she felt paralyzed and was unable to stop him as he assaulted her. Though Cosby settled this case out of court, it was a pivotal moment that would eventually embolden other women to come forward with similar allegations. For years, rumors and accusations lingered in the background, dismissed by many as hearsay or even conspiracy. Then, in 2014, comedian Hannibal Buress performed a stand-up routine in which he publicly called out Cosby's alleged crimes, describing him as a hypocrite for his moralistic persona. Burgess urged his audience to Google Bill Cosby rape if they were unaware of the allegations, sparking a wave of renewed interest in investigation. The video of Buress's performance went viral, and soon, one by one, women began to come forward. Many of their accounts echo Constance's experience. They alleged that Cosby had offered them drugs or drinks, then assaulted them once they were incapacitated. In total, over 60 women would accuse Cosby of sexual misconduct, including rape, sexual assault, and drugging, with incidents allegedly occurring from the 1960s to the early 2000s. Cosby's legal battles intensified as the number of accusers grew. Many of the cases were too old to prosecute due to the statute of limitations, but Andrea Constance's case fell within Pennsylvania's legal timeframe. In 2015, Cosby was arrested on charges of aggravated indecent assault in connection with Constance's allegations. The trial became a watershed moment for the Me Too movement, which was just beginning to gain momentum. Victims of sexual assault and harassment saw Cosby's trial as a beacon of hope, a sign that powerful men who used their status to abuse others could finally be held accountable. In 2018, Cosby was found guilty on 3 counts of aggravated indecent assault and sentenced him to 10 years in prison. The verdict marked one of the first high-profile convictions of a celebrity in the Me Too era. In September 2018, Cosby entered prison, initially serving his sentence in solitary confinement before transitioning to general population. However, despite his conviction, his legal team continued to appeal the decision, arguing procedural errors in the trial. In 2021, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court overturned Cosby's conviction due to a previous non-prosecution agreement with the former district attorney, leading to his release after nearly 3 years behind bars. Cosby's release was met with mixed reactions. Some saw it as a miscarriage of justice, while others viewed it as a technical correction in the legal system. But even with his freedom restored, Cosby's reputation was irreparably damaged. He was stripped of honors and accolades from institutions that had once celebrated him. His once sterling image was forever tarnished by the accounts of the many women who had accused him of assault. Jeffrey Jones may not be a household name, but his face and performances have left a lasting impact on Hollywood and the many fans of the films he starred in. Known for his memorable roles in movies like Ferris Bueller's Day Off and Beetlejuice, Jones carved out a niche as a talented actor with an ability to bring humor, depth, and even menace to his characters. But beneath the veneer of his successful Hollywood career lies a disturbing criminal conviction that shocked fans and tarnished his legacy. Jeffrey Jones was born in Buffalo, New York in 1946. He developed an interest in acting at a young age, studying drama at the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Art. This training prepared him for a career on the stage, and he quickly began working in theatre, honing his craft before transitioning to television and film in the late 1970s. With a naturally expressive face and versatile voice, Jones soon found his niche as a character actor, capable of portraying eccentric, often authoritarian figures. His breakout role came in 1986 with the iconic comedy Ferris Bueller's Day Off, where he portrayed the comically villainous high school principal, Edward R. Rooney. As the determined yet hapless Rooney, Jones embodied the character of a strict authority figure whose misguided attempts to catch Ferris skipping school led to hilariously over-the-top situations. Jones's performance made Rooney one of the most memorable antagonists in 1980s cinema, and he became a staple of pop culture. Jones's career continued to flourish, and in 1988, he starred in another hit, Beetlejuice, directed by Tim Burton. In the darkly comedic supernatural tale, Jones played Charles Dietz, a stressed-out city man who moves to a rural home with his eccentric family, only to discover it's haunted by a mischievous ghost. Beetlejuice showcased Jones's versatility as an actor, as he seemingly transitioned from the villainous Principal Rooney to the quirky, beleaguered father, Charles. His role in Beetlejuice solidified his place in Burton's circle of recurring actors, and he continued to work with the director in future projects like Ed Wood and Sleepy Hollow. Jones also appeared in notable films like Amadeus, where he portrayed Emperor Joseph II, in a performance that highlighted his talent for playing authoritative figures with a touch of irony and humor. Over the years, Jones built a resume that made him a familiar face in Hollywood, With his roles often providing a unique blend of comedy and gravitas, he became a beloved character actor, known for stealing scenes and bringing a distinct, often eccentric energy to every part he played. But Jones's career and public image would take a dark turn in 2002. That year, news broke that Jeffrey Jones had been arrested and charged with a serious crime: possession of explicit materials involving minors and solicitation of a minor to pose for inappropriate photographs. The charges shocked fans and colleagues alike. Jones had been known for his quirky roles and comedic talent, but this revelation painted a disturbing picture of his private life, one that clashed severely with his on-screen persona. According to court documents, Jones was accused of soliciting a 14-year-old boy to pose for explicit photographs, an act which the authorities discovered after the boy came forward to report it. During the investigation, police reportedly found evidence supporting the allegations, leading to Jones's arrest and subsequent charges. The nature of the crime caused immediate backlash, and as more details emerged, the entertainment industry and public reacted with revulsion. Fans who had grown up watching him in Ferris Bueller's Day Off and Beetlejuice were shocked by the stark contrast between his beloved characters and the charges he faced. In 2003, Jeffrey Jones pleaded no contest to the charge of soliciting a minor. As part of his plea, he received a sentence of 5 years probation and was required to undergo counseling and had to register as a sex offender. The requirement to register as a sex offender would remain in place for the rest of his life, effectively ending any hope of restoring his public reputation. His case was among the early examples of a well-known actor facing serious criminal charges that led to mandatory registration, a factor that would continue to impact his life and career in the years that followed. The legal repercussions also had an immediate effect on Jones's professional life. Studios and directors quickly distanced themselves from him, and his work in Hollywood all but dried up. Roles that had once come easily for him disappeared as his name became associated with scandal rather than talent. While Jones did appear in a few smaller roles after his conviction, the notoriety of his crimes cast a shadow over his work, making it difficult for audiences and industry professionals to separate the actor from his personal life. As time passed, Jones's public image continued to suffer. The beloved characters he portrayed became tainted by association with his crimes, and audiences could no longer watch his performances without recalling the disturbing allegations. Today, Jeffrey Jones remains largely out of the public eye, his once promising career overshadowed by the weight of his crimes. His contributions to iconic films like Ferris Bueller's Day Off and Beetlejuice are remembered, but his personal life casts a long shadow that makes it difficult to separate the man from the roles he played. His conviction continues to follow him, underscoring the lasting consequences of actions that betray public trust and harm individuals. For years, Stephen Collins was a staple in American television, widely known and celebrated for his role as Reverend Eric Camden on Seventh Heaven, a show that became synonymous with family values, faith, and wholesome entertainment. Collins' portrayal of a loving, moral father figure resonated deeply with audiences, creating an image of him as an upstanding figure both on and off screen. But in 2014, that image was shattered by a scandal that would not only bring his career to an abrupt end, but would also force fans to confront a dark truth about someone that they had long trusted. Stephen Collins was born in Des Moines, Iowa in 1947, and showed an interest in acting early on, attending prestigious universities and honing his craft on stage before eventually moving into film and television. With a background in both theatre and classical acting, Collins built a strong foundation, allowing him to take on a variety of roles in the industry. His early television appearances in the 1970s and 1980s on shows like The Waltons, Charlie's Angels, and Tales of the Gold Monkey helped him gain recognition as a versatile character actor. Collins' natural on-screen presence and ability to play both serious and light-hearted roles won him many supporting parts in major films. One of his first significant breakthroughs came in 1979 with Star Trek: The Motion Picture, where he portrayed Captain Willard Decker. Though this role in the science fiction blockbuster wasn't large, it opened doors for him and helped establish him as a familiar face in Hollywood. During the 1980s and early 1990s, Collins continued to secure steady work, appearing in a variety of films and TV shows, including roles in Jumpin' Jack Flash, The First Wives Club, and All the President's Men. These roles showcased his range, from dramatic to comedic, and helped him build a reputation as a reliable character actor. Collins became known for portraying roles with a certain gravitas, which made him a fitting choice for morally centered characters. His performance style was understated, but impactful, and by the mid-90s, he was well regarded in the industry, with a growing list of memorable performances. In 1996, Collins took on the role that would forever define his career and public persona. Cast as Reverend Eric Camden in Seventh Heaven, Collins portrayed the role of a Protestant minister and father of 7 children, navigating the complexities of family life, faith, and morality. The series, created by Brenda Hampton, became an instant hit, particularly resonating with audiences who valued family-friendly programming in a television landscape that was becoming increasingly edgy. Seventh Heaven was more than just another family drama. It tackled relevant and timely issues with a moral center that was rare on television. The show addressed everything from teenage rebellion to drug use, peer pressure and dating, offering a guiding hand to its audiences through the character of Reverend Camden. Collins' portrayal made him a cultural icon, the embodiment of kindness, wisdom, and strong values, and audiences began to see him not just as an actor, but as a real-life extension of his character. Over its 11-season run, Seventh Heaven was one of the WB network's longest-running and most successful series, making Stephen Collins a household name. His character was not only the bedrock of his fictional family, but also a comforting presence for viewers, especially young fans and families who saw him as a parental figure they could look up to. He was invited to speak on family and faith at events, received awards for his work, and became a prominent symbol of the kind of wholesome television that many families longed for. His professional achievements aligned seamlessly with his image, and he seemed to embody the qualities of the character he portrayed. Then, in 2014, the world would learn a very different story about Stephen Collins. During a contentious divorce from his wife, Faye Grant, a tape surfaced recorded during a 2012 counseling session where Collins admitted to inappropriate acts with underage girls. The recording, leaked to the media, included Collins confessing to acts of misconduct with 3 minors over a span of several decades, dating back to the 1970s and 1980s.
When you exposed yourself to his 10-year-old sister, did you have an erection?
No. I mean, no. Partial.
Partial erection?
Yes.
How did you talk to her? What kinds of things did you say?
What is it?
What? How did you talk to her? What kinds of things did you say?
The exposure happened a couple of times.
A couple of times. You told me once.
No, I said on the list it happened several times. I said on the disclosure.
Several times? Oh, you have to understand I was being shot in the face with a shotgun, so several times.
It happened.
With a 10-year-old. Okay.
Well, no, she was 11 and then like 12 and 13.
The details of the recording were graphic. Collins admitted to exposing himself in inappropriate behavior with young girls, acts that were in direct conflict with the wholesome image he had cultivated for decades. This revelation sent shockwaves through Hollywood and his fan base. It wasn't just the acts themselves that were troubling, but the contrast between Collins' public image and the reality of his actions. The scandal quickly became front-page news, dominating media outlets as fans struggled to comprehend how someone so publicly associated with virtue could have committed such acts. As the news broke, the impact was swift and severe. Collins' once revered status as a moral figure was instantly destroyed, and the entertainment industry wasted no time in severing ties with him. Collins was dropped from projects, and in one notable instance, was removed from Ted 2, a film he had been set to appear in. Networks pulled Seventh Heaven reruns from their programming schedules, and streaming services began to distance themselves from content associated with him. The reaction was one of universal condemnation, with fans, colleagues, and media outlets expressing shock, anger, and disappointment. The legal implications of Collins' actions, however, were complex. Because the incidents he described in the recording had taken place decades earlier, they fell outside of the statute of limitations, meaning he could not be criminally prosecuted for them. This inability to press charges left a deep sense of injustice among the public, and particularly for the victims, as Collins would not face legal consequences for actions he had openly admitted to committing. Many questioned the fairness of the statute of limitations, arguing that cases involving minors should have a more extended period for prosecution. Collins issued a public statement acknowledging his behavior and expressing regret. In an interview with People magazine, he admitted to inappropriate conduct, but also sought to provide context and express remorse. However, his statements failed to resonate with the public, many of whom felt that no amount of explanation could justify or mitigate the harm he had caused. His apology was widely seen as inefficient, a mere formality that could not erase the pain inflicted on his victims or the betrayal felt by his fans. The revelation of Collins' crimes not only ruined his career, but also cast a permanent shadow over his most celebrated work, Seventh Heaven. Once a symbol of wholesome family entertainment, Seventh Heaven was now a painful reminder of the disparity between Collins' public image and private actions. Fans who had looked up to Collins' character as a model of morality and fatherly love were left feeling betrayed, and many could no longer watch the show without remembering the scandal. For fans of the hit sitcom That 70s Show, Danny Masterson's face is familiar as the witty, rebellious Stephen Hyde, a role that made him a staple of 2000s television and earned him a devoted fanbase. Known for his deadpan humor and laid-back style, Masterson seemed to have a promising career in Hollywood, but beneath the surface of his public image, a darker reality would come to light. Today, Masterson is remembered not just as a beloved TV character, but also as an actor whose criminal actions have led to a life-altering downfall. Danny Masterson was born in 1976 on Long Island, New York, and started his career young, working as a child actor in commercials by age 5. With his natural charisma and charm, he transitioned into television and film roles in the 1990s, appearing in small roles on shows like Sybil and Party of Five. His career was steadily gaining momentum, and he built a reputation as a young actor with potential, known for his distinct look and unique comedic style. In 1998, Masterson's life would change dramatically when he landed a key role on That 70s Show, a sitcom set in the 1970s that followed a group of teenage friends growing up in a small Wisconsin town. Masterson played Stephen Hyde, the sarcastic, rebellious friend of main character Eric Foreman. As Hyde, Masterson quickly became a fan favorite. Known for his wry humor, laid-back demeanor, and anti-establishment attitude, his portrayal of Hyde resonated with viewers, making him an integral part of the show's success. That 70s Show was an instant hit, and it ran for 8 seasons from 1998 to 2006. The show became a cultural phenomenon, launching the careers of its young cast members. For Masterson, That 70s Show solidified his place in Hollywood and introduced him to an international audience. As his fame grew, Masterson became part of a new generation of Hollywood actors, known for their offbeat personalities and edgy humor. He gained popularity behind the screen as well, often seen at Hollywood events and social gatherings with his co-stars and other celebrities. Masterson also became known for his work as a DJ, performing under the name DJ Mom Jeans, which only added to his appeal as a multi-talented entertainer with a laid-back yet cool image. In addition to That 70s Show, Masterson appeared in a number of films and television series throughout the 2000s, including roles in Puff Puff Pass and Yes Man. He built a reputation as an actor who could play the anti-hero, a character with a rebellious streak and a sense of humor that bordered on cynicism. His career was on a promising path, and he continued to work steadily, amassing a following of loyal fans. Outside of his acting career, Masterson was also known for his affiliation with the Church of Scientology, a controversial religious organization. He became involved with psychology early in his life and was an outspoken advocate for the church. His affiliation with Scientology would later become a focal point in his legal battles, as critics argued that the organization attempted to shield him from accusations. Masterson's status within the church gave him a certain level of protection and influence, and his connection to Scientology would play a significant role in the public's perception of him. While Danny Masterson's career was thriving in the public eye, troubling accusations were simmering beneath the surface. In the early 2000s, several women came forward accusing Masterson of assault, with incidents allegedly occurring between 2001 and 2003. The accusations included drugging and sexually assaulting victims, with the accounts of multiple women painting a consistent and disturbing picture of Masterson's behavior. The women involved in these accusations alleged that they were pressured not to report these assaults due to Masterson's affiliation with the Church of Scientology. According to court testimonies, the church allegedly discouraged them from coming forward, warning them that speaking out could lead to excommunication or other forms of punishment. This claim sparked intense scrutiny and criticism of the Church of Scientology, and it raised concerns about the organization's handling of allegations against its prominent members. For years, the accusations remained largely unreported in the mainstream media, and Masterson continued to work in Hollywood. He joined the cast of The Ranch, a Netflix series that starred his former That 70s Show co-star, Ashton Kutcher. The show premiered in 2016, and Masterson's character was well received, with fans excited to see him reunited with Kutcher. But in 2017, the accusations against Masterson resurfaced, this time with greater intensity, as the Me Too movement began to bring stories of sexual misconduct in Hollywood to the forefront. As the allegations gained renewed attention, Masterson faced mounting public and legal pressure. By late 2017, 4 women had come forward, alleging that Masterson had assaulted them. With stories that were disturbingly similar, Netflix responded by firing Masterson from The Ranch, severing ties with him amid the controversy. Masterson's removal from the show was a significant moment, as it signaled a shift in Hollywood's willingness to take immediate action against individuals accused of misconduct. In 2020, Masterson was formally charged with 3 counts of rape by force or fear in connection with incidents involving 3 separate women. He pleaded not guilty, maintaining his innocence and asserting that the encounters were consensual. However, the consistency of the women's accounts and the allegations of intimidation tactics used by the Church of Scientology created a compelling case for the prosecutors. The trial began in 2023, and the testimonies revealed a disturbing pattern of behavior. The women testified that Masterson had used his influence within Scientology and his Hollywood status to create an environment where they felt powerless to report the assaults. They alleged that after the incidents, they were pressured by the church to stay silent, with threats of expulsion from Scientology and social ostracism if they spoke out. The details of the case were harrowing, as the women recounted experiences that had haunted them for years. Masterson's defense team argued that the allegations were fabricated and motivated by a desire for financial gain. However, the evidence presented in court and the consistent testimonies of the victims painted a different picture. In May 2023, Masterson was found guilty on 2 of the 3 charges of rape. In September 2023, he was sentenced to 30 years to life in prison, marking a significant conclusion to a long and painful legal journey for the victims. The conviction of Danny Masterson was a landmark moment in the ongoing fight for justice and accountability in Hollywood. As a prominent figure connected to both the entertainment industry and the Church of Scientology, his case shined a spotlight on issues of power, influence, and the obstacles that victims often face when coming forward. The allegations against Masterson and the subsequent conviction served as a reminder that even those who portray lovable or relatable characters on screen can hide darker, more harmful behaviors in their personal lives. Shelley Malil's name may not be one you're familiar with, but for fans of the 2005 hit comedy, The 40-Year-Old Virgin, he's recognizable as the quirky co-worker, known for his comedic timing and distinctive personality. Malil was steadily building a career in Hollywood, playing small but memorable roles in film and television. Shelley Malil was born in 1964 in Kerala, India, before moving to the United States as a child. He grew up in Texas, where he developed a love for acting, often performing in local theatre productions. Malil's passion for the craft led him to Hollywood in the early 1990s, where he aimed to make a name for himself in the entertainment industry. With a background in theatre, Malil had honed his skills in front of live audiences, which helped him transition into film and television with relative ease. Breaking into Hollywood wasn't easy, especially for an Indian American actor in a time where there were few roles available for minorities. However, Malil was determined, and his persistence paid off as he started landing roles on television shows like NYPD Blue, The West Wing, and Scrubs. He became known as a character actor, able to bring humor and personality to even minor roles. Although these roles were small, they allowed him to build a portfolio, making him a familiar face to audiences who may not have known his name but recognized his face. In 2005, Malil's career took a significant turn when he landed a role in the Judge Apatow directed comedy, The 40-Year-Old Virgin. Malil played Aziz, a co-worker of Steve Carell's character, Andy. Although a supporting character, Malil's performance stood out thanks to his comedic timing and his character's amusing interactions with the main cast.
Hey, Andy! Hey! We're gonna have to get you some punani.
The film was a massive hit, both critically and commercially, and it helped boost the careers of many of its stars, including Steve Carell, Seth Rogen, and Paul Rudd. For Malil, the 40-year-old virgin represented his biggest role to date, and it gave him exposure to a much larger audience. The success of the film brought Malil a new level of visibility, and he began to gain more recognition in Hollywood. He appeared in commercials and landed small roles in other television series, hoping to build on the success he had found. For a time, it seemed that Malil's career was on an upward trajectory. He was becoming known for his knack for comedy and his ability to add an extra layer of humor to his characters. Although he never reached the level of stardom of his 40-year-old virgin co-stars, Malil had carved out a place for himself in the industry. But in 2008, Shelley Malil's life would take a drastic and violent turn. On August 10th of that year, he was involved in a horrific attack on his former girlfriend, Kendra Beebe. Malil, in a shocking act of violence, stabbed Beebe over 20 times in her home in San Marcos, California. The brutal nature of the assault was disturbing, and the incident quickly made headlines, not just for its violence, but because it involved an actor who had been associated with light-hearted comedy and humor. According to court documents and testimony, Malil had gone to Beebe's home that night, allegedly in a fit of jealousy. The couple had been dating, but had recently broken up. Malil reportedly became enraged when he found Beebe with another man, and in a moment of uncontrollable anger, he attacked her with a knife. Beebe's injuries were severe. She had suffered numerous stab wounds to her chest, neck, back, and arms, some of which were life-threatening. The attack left her with permanent scars, both physical and emotional, and required extensive medical treatment. The circumstances surrounding the attack were chilling. Witnesses reported that Malil seemed to lose control, striking Beebe repeatedly, even as she begged for her life. Neighbors heard the commotion and called the police, who arrived to find Beebe barely clinging to life. Fortunately, she survived the attack, but the psychological and physical trauma of the event left lasting impacts. Malil was quickly arrested and charged with attempted premeditated murder, assault with a deadly weapon, and other related charges. The case against Shelley Malil was strong, and the trial garnered significant media attention. During the trial, prosecutors presented evidence that painted a disturbing picture of Malil's actions that night, arguing that his attack on Beebe was both calculated and brutal. Witnesses testified about Malil's jealousy and his increasingly erratic behavior leading up to the incident, suggesting that his anger had been simmering for some time. The prosecution argued that Malil's actions showed a clear intent to kill, given the number of times he had stabbed Beebe and the severity of her injuries. In his defense, Malil argued that he had acted impulsively, claiming that he had, quote, lost control in a moment of passion. He expressed remorse for his actions, stating that he had not intended to kill Beebe. However, his remorse did little to sway the jury, who found him guilty of attempted premeditated murder and assault with a deadly weapon in 2010. The evidence against him was overwhelming, and the jury concluded that Malil's actions were intentional and premeditated. He was sentenced to 12 years to life in prison for his crimes, with the judge noting that the extreme violence of the attack and the lasting trauma it caused for Beebe. The sentence reflected the severity of his actions. Shelley Malil's conviction and sentencing effectively ended his career in Hollywood. Once known for his comedic roles, he was now infamous for a crime that was shocking as it was brutal. The contrast between his image as a light-hearted comedic actor and the reality of his violent actions were deeply unsettling for fans who knew him for the 40-year-old virgin. Joe Son was born in South Korea in 1970 and later moved to California. Growing up in the United States, he developed an interest in martial arts at an early age, eventually pursuing a career in combat sports. Son trained in multiple forms of martial arts, ultimately becoming proficient in a unique hybrid style called Jo Son Do. His background in martial arts would later serve as a foundation for his acting career and would give him an intimidating on-screen presence that translated well to roles that he would come to play. In the 1990s, Jo Son entered the world of professional fighting. He made his debut in the UFC during its early days when mixed martial arts competitions were beginning to gain popularity. He competed in UFC 4 in 1994, where he became known for his unorthodox fighting style, although his performance in the ring left much to be desired. His only UFC fight ended in a swift defeat, and his MMA career never truly took off. While his record in the sport was not impressive, his physical presence and background as a martial artist allowed him to transition into Hollywood, where he hoped to leverage his image as a fighter into an acting career. Son's most significant role came in 1997 when he was cast as Random Task in the popular comedy Austin Powers International Man of Mystery. Directed by Jay Roach and starring Mike Myers, Austin Powers was a parody of classic spy films, and Son's character was a spoof of the James Bond henchman Oddjob, known for using his bowler hat as a weapon. In a humorous twist, Random Task used a shoe to dispatch his enemies, creating a memorable moment that delighted audiences. Austin Powers was a massive success, becoming a cultural phenomenon and solidifying itself as one of the defining comedies of the late 1990s. Son's role as Random Task, while small, became iconic in its own way, as fans remembered the absurdity and humor of the character. This role brought him a level of recognition, and for a brief time, Son seemed to have found his place in Hollywood. He even appeared in a few other minor roles, largely as a typecast tough guy or a henchman, leveraging his martial arts background and imposing look. Yet, despite his brief success in the entertainment industry, Son's acting career was short-lived. His role as Random Task remained his most memorable appearance, and by the early 2000s, his Hollywood prospects had dwindled. It seemed that Son would fade into obscurity, a one-hit wonder best remembered for his role in Austin Powers. But a few years later, the public would learn that there was much more to Joe Son's story, and it was far darker than anyone could have anticipated. In 2008, over a decade after Austin Powers had made him a recognizable face, Joe Son's past came back to haunt him in a shocking and disturbing way. He was arrested on charges unrelated to his time in Hollywood, but a DNA sample collected for a separate offense linked him to a brutal crime that's gone unsolved for nearly 2 decades. In 1990, years before his appearance in Austin Powers, Son had been involved in a horrifying gang rape and assault on a young woman in California. The details of the crime were harrowing. The woman, identified in court documents as Jane Doe, was abducted at gunpoint while walking her dog on Christmas Eve. She was then repeatedly raped, tortured, and threatened with death by her assailants. After the attack, she was left naked and traumatized, fearing for her life, and forever haunted by the events of that night. For years, this brutal crime had gone unsolved, and it wasn't until Son's arrest on a minor charge in 2008 that his DNA linked him to the assault. When investigators matched Son's DNA to the evidence from the 1990 crime, it reopened the case, leading to Son's arrest and subsequent prosecution. The revelation was shocking to fans and the public alike, as Son's small but memorable Hollywood career had obscured his violent past. The crime he was charged with was so severe that it shocked even those familiar with true crime cases, given the brutality of the assault and the apparent lack of remorse from the perpetrators. During the trial, prosecutors presented overwhelming evidence tying Son to the 1990 attack. The testimony provided by the victim, Jane Doe, was powerful and heartbreaking as she recounted the horrific events of that night. Her courage in facing her attacker in court was met with public admiration and sympathy, and her story highlighted the lasting trauma that survivors of sexual violence endure. Son initially faced multiple charges, including rape, torture, and other violent crimes. However, due to the statute of limitations, some charges were no longer prosecutable. Son was charged with and convicted of felony torture, a charge that carried a severe penalty given the circumstances of the crime. The court found that Son had demonstrated exceptional cruelty and malice, and his sentence reflected the gravity of his actions. In 2011, he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, a punishment that underscored the severity of the crime and the justice sought for Jane Doe. Son's conviction was met with relief from the public, who were horrified by the details of his actions. The case became a grim reminder that people who appear harmless or even comedic on screen can harbor dark, hidden sides. For fans of Austin Powers, it was disturbing to reconcile the quirky, humorous character of Random Task with the violent criminal Son had been revealed to be. While serving his life sentence, Joe Son's violent behavior continued. In 2011, he was implicated in the death of his cellmate, Michael Thomas Graham, who was found dead in their shared cell. investigators indicated that Graham's death was a result of injuries sustained in an assault by Son, who reportedly attacked Graham in a violent confrontation. The incident added another layer to Son's record, leading to further charges. In 2017, he was convicted of voluntary manslaughter for Graham's death, underscoring a pattern of violence that had followed him from his life outside to his time in prison. This conviction reinforced Son's increasingly notorious reputation, highlighting a life marred by a series of brutal actions. Known for his roles in hit television shows and films, Michael Jace made a name for himself in Hollywood as a reliable character actor, often cast in roles that projected strength, authority, or complexity. Known for his role as LAPD officer Julian Lowe on the critically acclaimed series The Shield, Jace portrayed a conflicted character, struggling with his personal and professional identities. For a time, he appeared to be a rising star, building a career on nuanced performances in television and film. However, his life took a tragic turn in 2014, when he was convicted of a violent crime that shocked his fans and devastated his family. Michael Jace was born on July 13, 1962, in Paterson, New Jersey. His acting career began with minor roles in the early 1990s, when he appeared in television series like Law & Order and Star Trek Deep Space Nine. With his imposing frame and serious demeanor, Jace often portrayed characters that exuded authority and gravitas. His early roles in film and television helped him establish a foothold in Hollywood, where he was recognized for his ability to play intense and morally complex roles. Jace's big break came in 1994 with his role in Forrest Gump, where he played a Black Panther member. Although his role was small, it was in a prominent film that allowed him to demonstrate his range and skill.
He's one of us.
Let me tell you about us.
What the hell?
Our purpose here is to protect our black leaders from the racial onslaught of the pig who wishes to brutalize our black leaders, rape our women, and destroy our black community.
He went on to secure roles in several notable projects, including The Replacement in 2000, where he played a professional football player, and Boogie Nights, a 1997 hit that gave him the opportunity to work alongside well-known actors in a high-profile film. In 2002, Jace's career reached new heights when he was cast in The Shield, a groundbreaking police drama created by Sean Ryan. The show centered on a corrupt police unit within the LAPD and followed the moral and ethical challenges of its members. Jace portrayed Officer Julian Lowe, a dedicated Christian and one of the few morally upright officers on the show, who also struggled with his own conflict over his sexuality. Jace's portrayal of Julian brought depth to the character as he navigated a conservative religious background with his professional duties while grappling with his identity in a setting where he feared discrimination. The Shield was widely praised for its gritty portrayal of urban law enforcement, and it became one of the most critically acclaimed shows on television. The series ran for 7 seasons, giving Jace sustained visibility and turning him into a recognizable face among fans of crime dramas. Jace's nuanced portrayal of a man torn between his faith, his job, and his personal truth made him a standout performer, and he received positive reviews for his work on the show. As a cast member on such a prominent series, Jace seemed to be on the path to great success in Hollywood. After The Shield ended in 2008, Jace continued to work steadily in television, with appearances in series like Southland, Burn Notice, and CSI Crime Scene Investigation. Though he never achieved leading man status, he was respected in the industry as a capable and versatile actor. His career was marked by roles that highlighted his talent for portraying individuals in conflict, often facing moral and emotional dilemmas. However, behind the scenes, Jace's life was far from the stability he portrayed on screen. In the years following The Shield, Jace faced mounting financial difficulties. Public records reveal that he had filed for bankruptcy in 2011, citing over $500,000 in debts. Financial strain took a toll on his personal life, adding pressure to his marriage and creating tension that would later become tragically significant. Jace's relationship with his wife, April Jace, reportedly became strained as his financial troubles worsened and their home life became increasingly tense. Despite these struggles, Jace maintained his professional image, continuing to act and attend industry events. However, his public persona as a stable, composed actor was beginning to fray, and he showed signs of personal turmoil that friends and colleagues would later recall as hints of the tragic events that would unfold. On May 19, 2014, Jace's life and career took a devastating turn. That night, in a moment of anger and despair, Jace fatally shot his wife, April, in their home in Los Angeles. According to reports, The shooting occurred during an argument about their finances. Witnesses later testified that Jace was deeply troubled by the financial situation and the toll it was taking on his marriage. He retrieved a firearm and shot April multiple times in front of their 2 young children, an act of violence that left his family shattered and shocked his friends and fans. The details that emerged in the aftermath were harrowing. According to police reports, Jace called 911 after the shooting and confessed to the crime, telling the dispatcher that he had shot his wife. When authorities arrived at the scene, they found April dead, and Jace was immediately taken into custody. The tragedy of the situation was compounded by the fact that the couple's young sons, aged 8 and 5 at the time, were present during the incident and witnessed their mother's death. This added a heartbreaking dimension to an already devastating crime, as the children were left traumatized by the loss of their mother and the arrest of their father. In 2016, Jace stood trial for the murder of his wife. Prosecutors argue that the crime was premeditated, pointing to Jace's statements and actions leading up to the shooting. The evidence presented included testimony from witnesses who described Jace as increasingly agitated in the days before the incident and suggested that his frustration over financial troubles had reached a boiling point. During the trial, it was revealed that Jace had a history of domestic violence. This pattern painted a chilling picture of a man who struggled with control and anger issues long before that tragic night in 2014. Jace's defense attorneys argued that the crime was not premeditated, contending that it was an impulsive act, driven by intense emotional distress. They claimed that Jace had not planned to kill his wife and had acted in the heat of the moment. Despite these arguments, the jury found him guilty of second-degree murder, rejecting the notion that his actions were solely impulsive. In June 2016, Jace was sentenced to 40 years to life in prison for the murder of April Jace. The sentence reflected the severity of his actions and the tragic impact on his family, particularly his children, who lost both parents in one night. The court's decision brought a measure of justice for April and her family, but it also underscored the depth of the tragedy, one that left 2 children orphaned and a family devastated. Ryan Grantham was born in 1998 in British Columbia, Canada, and began acting at a young age. He quickly showed a natural ability on screen, and his early performances hinted at a bright future in the entertainment industry. With support from his family, he took on acting classes, auditioned for roles, and soon began working in television and film. Known for his expressive face and emotional depth, Grantham landed his first significant roles in Canadian television series and movies, showcasing a talent that seemed beyond his years. In the early 2010s, Grantham's career began to take off. He appeared in several television shows and films, quickly becoming a recognizable face in Canadian entertainment. His breakout came with a support role in Diary of a Wimpy Kid, a popular family film based on Jeff Kinney's beloved book series. Grantham played Rodney James, a minor character, but his presence in such a widely watched film gave him considerable visibility. This role was pivotal in his career as it helped him gain recognition and open doors to more acting opportunities. Grantham continued to build his career in television, appearing in series like Supernatural, iZombie, and Unspeakable. He portrayed a variety of characters, each showing his range and skill. With each role, he demonstrated an ability to inhabit different personas, a skill that's essential in a young actor looking to establish a long-term career in Hollywood. One of Grantham's most notable roles came in the hit series Riverdale, a dark adaptation of the classic Archie comics. The show, known for its suspenseful storylines and dramatic twists, was a major success and gained a large following around the world. Grantham appeared in Riverdale in a small but significant role in the 4th season, where he played Jeffrey Augustine, a character involved in a critical storyline. In Riverdale, Grantham's character was responsible for a pivotal plot point: the accidental killing of Fred Andrews, a beloved character portrayed by the late Luke Perry. This role, though brief, placed him in the spotlight as one of the show's most memorable and emotional storylines. By this point, Grantham had become a recognizable name among fans of teen dramas, and his career seemed to be progressing with steady momentum. Despite his budding success, Ryan Grantham was facing personal struggles that few knew about. He reportedly struggled with mental health issues, including depression and anxiety. These struggles intensified, creating a cloud over his life that affected his personal relationships, his self-esteem, and his outlook on the future. Friends and family noted that he became increasingly withdrawn, displaying signs of deepening inner turmoil. While he continued to pursue his career, these personal issues appeared to be mounting behind the scenes. Grantham reportedly expressed feelings of hopelessness and disconnection, common indicators of untreated or undertreated mental health issues. His family, particularly his mother, Barbara Waite, was supportive, but the extent of Grantham's struggles would not become fully apparent until it was too late. On March 31st, 2020, the trajectory of Ryan Grantham's life took a tragic and irreversible turn. In a horrifying and unexpected act, Grantham shot and killed his mother in their home in Squamish, British Columbia. According to court documents, Grantham had spent time planning the act, and he later confessed to rehearsing the murder in the days leading up to it. The crime, both shocking and tragic, left his family and community in disbelief. The details of the crime are harrowing. Grantham later told authorities that he had shot his mother while she was playing the piano, a moment of vulnerability that underscored the tragic nature of the act. Barbara Waite, described by friends and family as a caring and compassionate woman, had been supportive of her son throughout his career and had reportedly been his primary source of emotional support. The fact that Grantham's mental illness struggles led him to harm the one person who had stood by him made the crime all the more heartbreaking. After the murder, Grantham's actions took another disturbing turn. He reportedly loaded his car with firearms, ammunition, and camping gear with the intention of traveling to Ottawa to carry out further violence, including an alleged plan to target Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. However, he did not go through with his plan. Instead, after several hours of driving, Grantham turned himself in to the police, confessing to the murder of his mother. His decision to come forward, though it brought a halt to his plans, did little to lessen the gravity of his actions. Grantham's confession led to his immediate arrest, and his case quickly gained widespread media attention. The details of his actions, the premeditated nature of his crime, the subsequent plan for further violence, and his eventual decision to surrender, painted a troubling picture of a young man who ultimately succumbed to violent impulses. In 2022, Ryan Grantham was tried for the murder of his mother. The prosecution presented evidence of premeditation, pointing to Grantham's confession, his rehearsals of the crime, and the methodical way he carried out the act. During the trial, Grantham expressed remorse for his actions, acknowledging the pain he had caused his family and the irreversible harm he had done. He stated that his mother had been a loving and supportive figure in his life, making his actions all the more incomprehensible and tragic. The defense argued that Grantham's mental health struggles played a significant role in his actions, contending that his psychological state had deteriorated to a point where he felt detached from reality. Expert witnesses testified about his struggles with depression, anxiety, and potential underlying mental health conditions, emphasizing the need for mental health treatment and intervention in such cases. However, the court found that his premeditated actions warranted a severe sentence. In September 2022, Ryan Grantham was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 14 years. The sentence reflected the gravity of the crime and the tragic loss of Barbara Waite's life. Grantham's sentencing brought some measure of closure to his family, but the pain and loss caused by his actions left a lasting impact on those who knew and loved him. Julius Deleon was born on August 12, 1979 in Sun Valley, California. From a young age, he was drawn to the entertainment industry, hoping to make a career in Hollywood. His big break came in the early 1990s when he landed a minor role on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the children's show that became a massive cultural phenomenon. Deleon appeared briefly as an extra in a few episodes, and though his role was small, it provided him with a taste of the fame he craved. Despite his early exposure to Hollywood, Deleon's acting career never truly took off. Following his brief stint on Power Rangers, he struggled to find steady work in the entertainment industry. As the years went by, he grew frustrated with his lack of success and began drifting away from acting altogether. Deleon's life became marked by financial troubles, strained relationships, and a growing desperation to achieve the wealth and status he believed he deserved. This desperation would eventually lead him down a dark path, one that involved manipulation, theft, and ultimately, murder. By the early 2000s, Deleon was struggling to make ends meet. Despite his dreams of stardom, his acting opportunities had long since dried up, and he found himself facing mounting debt and financial instability. In 2002, he joined the United States Marine Corps, but he was discharged within 2 years for going AWOL. This pattern of abandoning commitments and seeking shortcuts to wealth would become a recurring theme in Deleon's life. Desperate for money, Deleon became involved in small-time thefts and schemes. His criminal activities escalated, and he began looking for more lucrative opportunities. In 2004, he hatched a plan that would allow him to achieve the wealth and lifestyle he had always dreamed of. A plan that would tragically lead to the deaths of 2 innocent people. In late 2004, Deleon learned about Thomas and Jackie Hawkes, a retired couple who owned a 55-foot yacht called the Well-Deserved. The Hawkes had worked hard throughout their lives, and the yacht was a symbol of their well-earned retirement. They decided to sell the boat to spend more time with their family, including their young grandchild. The Well-Deserved was listed for sale, and Deleon saw it as the perfect opportunity to get what he wanted, a life of luxury and freedom. But rather than buying it through legitimate means, Deleon devised a sinister plan to steal it outright. Posing as a potential buyer, Deleon, along with his accomplices, convinced the Hawkes that he was interested in purchasing the yacht. Deleon portrayed himself as a family man, bringing along his pregnant wife, Jennifer Henderson, to appear trustworthy and deceive the Hawkes into believing he was serious about the purchase. He fabricated a story about wanting to buy the boat as a new home for his growing family, a lie that would ultimately lead the Hawkes to lower their guard. Deleon's plan was to force the Hawkes to transfer ownership of the yacht to him, and then eliminate them to cover his tracks. To help carry out his gruesome plan, he enlisted 2 accomplices, John Fitzgerald Kennedy and Alonzo McCain. Together, they devised a methodical plan to take the yacht and eliminate any witnesses. On November 15, 2004, Deleon, Kennedy, and McCain met the Hawkes under the pretense of taking the Well-Deserved on a test run. Once out at sea, Deleon and his accomplices revealed their true intentions. They overpowered the Hawkes, tying them up and forcing them to sign over the ownership of the yacht. The couple, now bound and defenseless, was forced to endure a terrifying ordeal after the Hawkes signed the necessary documents to transfer ownership of the yacht. Deleon's plan took an even darker turn. Instead of letting the couple go, Deleon and his accomplices decided to murder them to eliminate any witnesses. In a horrific act of cruelty, they tied Thomas and Jackie Hawkes to an anchor and threw them overboard while they were still alive. The couple drowned in the cold waters of the Pacific Ocean, their final moments filled with unimaginable terror. Their bodies were never recovered, lost forever to the depths of the sea. The murder of Thomas and Jackie Hawkes was not just a theft gone wrong, it was a calculated act of greed and ruthlessness. Deleon's decision to eliminate the couple in such a brutal manner highlighted his complete disregard for human life, and the crime left the Hawkes' family devastated. Friends and relatives described Thomas and Jackie as kind, generous, and loving people who had worked hard to enjoy their retirement. Their loss was a tragedy not just to their family, but for the entire community. The disappearance of Thomas and Jackie Hawkes quickly drew the attention of law enforcement, who launched an investigation into their whereabouts. Suspicion fell on Deleon when investigators uncovered inconsistencies in Deleon's story and found evidence linking him to the fraudulent sale of the yacht. Further investigation revealed that Deleon had attempted to access the Hawkes' bank accounts, indicating that his motives were financial. As the investigation continued, authorities gathered enough evidence to arrest Deleon and his accomplices. During questioning, Alonzo McCain, one of Deleon's accomplices, eventually confessed to his role in the murders and provided a detailed account of the events. McCain's confession gave prosecutors a clear picture of the crime, including the planning, the deception, and the brutal execution of the Hawkes. His testimony would become a crucial part of the case against Deleon, who is now facing charges of first-degree murder. The trial of Skyler Deleon garnered significant media attention due to the shocking nature of the crime and the chilling details that emerged in court. Prosecutors argued that Deleon had meticulously planned the murders, driven by a desire for wealth and a willingness to kill to get what he wanted. The evidence against him was overwhelming, with testimony from McCain, financial records, and documentation of the fraudulent transfer of ownership, all pointing to Deleon's guilt. In 2008, Skyler Deleon was found guilty of the murders of Thomas and Jackie Hawkes. He was convicted on 2 counts of first-degree murder with special circumstances, including financial gain and multiple murders, which made him eligible for the death penalty. During sentencing, the judge condemned Deleon's actions, calling the crime one of the most cold-blooded he had ever seen. Deleon was sentenced to death and sent to San Quentin State Prison, where he awaits execution. John Fitzgerald Kennedy, Deleon's main accomplice, was also found guilty and sentenced to death. Alonzo McCain, who had cooperated with investigators and provided crucial testimony, received a lesser sentence in exchange for his cooperation. Jennifer Henderson, Deleon's wife, who had assisted in the planning and deception, was convicted of lesser charges and sentenced to life in prison without parole. Today, Skyler Deleon remains on death row, A man once with dreams of fame, now infamous for one of the most brutal crimes in recent memory. And that's the end of the video, folks. Earlier in the year, I said that this was going to be an iceberg video, but due to a number of reasons, the iceberg video never really entered production, so it ended up being one of my normal videos. As I said, there's quite a few more people who could fit a video like this, so if this video does well, I'll know people want to see more and I'll make another. Be sure to like this video, leave a comment and subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.